1 second, let me share live on Facebook. Alrighty, so this is about to set up and then we will get started. Thank you guys for being patient with us. All right. And alrighty, we are set. So we're going to go ahead and get started here. So my name is Maddie. I'm the Marketing and Outreach Manager for the Boynton Beach City Library. And this is the first event of our Career Month program, where all throughout the month, we're going to be giving you different workshops with skills on how to create a resume, interview for a job. But today, we're going to be focusing on LinkedIn. So I'm going to go ahead and start our presentation and share the screen. And if you guys have any questions, I will be answering them at the duration of the presentation. So feel free to chat them there and then we will answer them. Right. So 1 moment. Let me go ahead and pull the chat up just in case questions pop through. All right. So as I said, this is our program, LinkedIn Like a Boss, and it is presented by the Boynton Beach City Library. So, for starters, what is LinkedIn? Well, first and foremost, LinkedIn, oh, we have one person entering. There we go. So, what is LinkedIn? LinkedIn is a social media platform with over 500 million active users worldwide. LinkedIn users can search for and apply to jobs and can also use the site to research those companies and an industry as a whole. You can find a list of people who work there, job listings, news about the company, and maybe see people you know who work there. So in that way, it is a social media platform, though it's different from what you would think of when you're thinking about Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. Second, LinkedIn is a job searching tool. So as I mentioned, you can use LinkedIn to find and search for jobs based on certain skills, location, everything like that. It's a very comprehensive job searching tool. Some would say it's even more popular than ones like Indeed or Monster. It's a networking tool. So LinkedIn allows users to connect with each other, as well as companies they may want to work for. LinkedIn groups allow users to network further with people in their industry, sharing advice and job opportunities, or even connecting with college alumni. And LinkedIn is a branding tool. With LinkedIn, you can set yourself apart from the crowd and share your accomplishments in great detail. You can attach work samples, create a comprehensive work history, showcase certifications, and even take LinkedIn assessments to prove mastery of industry programs. You can consider LinkedIn an in-depth interactive resume. Your LinkedIn profile is public, allowing you to be discovered by recruiters and other industry leaders. So first we're going to look at the LinkedIn profile, which is the most important part of LinkedIn. It is where you tell the world about you and your accomplishments. And there's a lot of parts to it, so we're going to break them down piece by piece, starting with your intro. So the first part of a great LinkedIn profile is your intro section. This shows at the top of the page and includes a profile photo, headline, your current position, any education you have, where you are located, and the contact information you'd like displayed, like your phone or email. And furthermore, the LinkedIn profile intro part has about, featured, and activity. The about section is just a short intro to who you are and what you do. Featured is where you can highlight any work you've done, maybe portfolio samples or things like that. And the activity shows what you've done on LinkedIn. So posts you've commented on recently, posts you've published, things like that. The next part of your LinkedIn profile is your background. This is where you really get into who you are and what you do. And we're going to go into more of these things specifically later on, but this is just a brief overview. So you have your work experience, your education, any licenses or certifications you have, and your volunteer experience. Below that, you can share your skills and endorsements. And endorsements are basically people saying what a great job you've done or something from someone who has worked with you. And so those are put by others and not by you. Accomplishments you've had, and then anything you're interested in. So here are some tips for your intro of your LinkedIn profile. First and foremost, you want to include a professional photo. So LinkedIn, as I said, it's a networking platform. It's a job searching platform. So this isn't where you're not going to put your Facebook profile here or your Instagram profile. If you can do it, I would say include a headshot, or at the very least, a photo of you looking professional and just something serious. Think your future employer might be seeing this, so you want to give them a good visual impression. Next, you want to write a clear headline. So this goes directly underneath your name on your LinkedIn profile. And you don't need to have a job to have a good headline. Often, people who are searching for jobs will use their headline to state that. So this first example, this person has broken up a few of the things that they do and that they're skilled in and what their goal is on LinkedIn. So helping businesses stand out and grow their online presence. The second person was an IT administrator and they're seeking a new opportunity. So they use their headline to say that, and furthermore, to say how their skills can help that company if they're selected. This just further helps to set apart yourself from the crowd and show people why you're on LinkedIn. It's also important to have complete and updated contact information. If it's not, you could potentially miss out on job and networking opportunities. And finally, your education. Include the highest level of education you've received and where you got it from. This includes any bachelor's degrees, master's degrees, or technical education. Next, we're going to talk about the about and featured tips section. And yes, this is from my LinkedIn profile, so I'm just sharing it here as an example. So the about. Think of the headline of your LinkedIn profile as your hook, and the about section as your story. This is where you define yourself more creatively without the constraints of sticking to position titles or work dates. How you use this section is entirely up to you. Some people like to use it for explaining their career journey, others for showing their personality or the story behind their biggest achievements. But regardless, it should put your best self out there. So I, for instance, use this more as a creative way to say what I've done and what I want to do when I work for a company. But as I said, it's totally up to you, and you don't have as much character restraints as you would in your headline, for instance. So really have fun with it. And then the next section is your featured section, which you can think as your LinkedIn highlights reel. This gives center stage to what you're most proud of or believe to be most important. Here you can feature any post you've authored or reshared, articles you've published on LinkedIn, as well as external media, documents, and links. So here, for instance, I included a link to my portfolio. That way people, when they're visiting my profile, it's the first thing they see, they click it, and they can see all of the work I've done. Next, we're going to talk about your background and more specifically some tips for optimizing your background section on LinkedIn. So you want to be specific and accurate when you're listing any work experience in your background section. You want to use the correct dates. You want to link the job to a business page on LinkedIn if it exists. For instance, here, I worked for the University of Central Florida, which has a LinkedIn page. So I was able to put that company's page linked into this job description, which gives it the nice icon too. You want to use your correct title. So even though this was a very long title, this was my title, so I put it all on there. You want to attach any work samples. So here I put articles I've written, photos I've taken, videos I've shot. And you want to create bullets in the experience section and use action verbs and quantifiable terms when describing duties. So rather than just saying, I scheduled social media posts, you could say, I scheduled 15 social media posts per week that led to a growth of 542 followers from this date to this date. Because employers like to see the numbers and they like to see that what you did worked. Second, you want to list all of your education, any education you've had, as I mentioned, from bachelor's all the way up to doctorate. If you are a high schooler, you can put your high school education, but I would say once you start moving up in the world in your career that you could probably take your high school off, but of course it's up to you, it doesn't hurt. You want to list any relevant licenses or certifications, include the ID to that license or certification if applicable. And also for any of the licenses or certifications you put on here, make sure they aren't expired. So if they do happen to expire, either renew them or take them off. And then finally, list volunteer experience that is relevant to your career. So don't just put down every food distribution you've done, every, so on and so forth. Put down volunteer experience that matches your career field. So here, for instance, I put down when I volunteered as a PR director for Feeding Children Everywhere, when I volunteered as a race photographer, because those are relevant to what I do. Next, we're going to talk about the skills and endorsements section of your profile. So you want to add skills that are specific, not just basic ones like Microsoft Office or teamwork or leadership, because I think a lot of people would say those are very basic skills. You really want to put ones that are specific to what you do. So granted, social media is kind of basic, but it is what I do. So I did put it there, and I was endorsed by a lot of people for doing it because that's my main thing. But you can also put programs, specific programs that you might use in your career field, like Adobe Premiere Pro, which is something I use a lot. And then below skills, you have the endorsements section, which is basically another LinkedIn member affirming that you have this skill. So for instance, as I mentioned, 13 of my connections endorsed me for social media. And next, we have skills assessments, which is a relatively new aspect of the skills part of LinkedIn. These are short quizzes that ask you how to do tasks on a program. And once you pass it, an icon appears by the listed tool or technology to show your mastery. So there's a screenshot here that shows some of the different quizzes you can take. These are the ones recommended for me and for what I do. And then below that, we have the accomplishments section. Use this to list any additional accomplishments you may have. So any honors or awards, publications, languages. And the languages are pretty helpful to include, especially if you speak multiple of them, because I know in some places, speaking a language is a requirement of a job application. So if you are bilingual or any other sort of language, it is helpful to put it on there. And now we're going to go into some general LinkedIn tips. So first, remember, it's not a one-size-fits-all profile. You want to show what is relevant to you. So my profile as a marketer might look vastly different from someone's profile as an educator or as a librarian, for instance. You really want to tailor it to what works for you. And something that might be helpful is to look at the LinkedIn profiles of others in your field. This will give you inspiration for headlines, how to frame your job descriptions, and different things like that. Don't cold connect with others. So this is something I see so often on LinkedIn that I think is important to note. Cold connecting is when you send a connection request to someone you don't know. And connection requests are the LinkedIn verbiage for giving someone a friend request, like on Facebook. And if you do cold connect with someone, you want to at least include a message with your request so the person knows why you want to be connected to them. Because LinkedIn, I would say, is a much more personal platform in that the people you're connected with, you want to actually benefit from being connected to them and want to develop a relationship with them because it is networking. So if you don't know the person, at least include a message why you want to be connected to them. So beneath that, on the flip side, you don't want to cold connect with others, but you do want to develop relationships with others. LinkedIn allows for connections to get to know one another and learn from each other's skills, but it takes time to do so. A few ways to develop a relationship are to interact with the posts of others, send messages, and endorse their skills. Who knows, this connection may land you a job someday. And I can definitely say from personal experience that is true. When I was in college, a few of the internships that I got were from people I met on LinkedIn or that I continue to develop a relationship with on LinkedIn. And finally, you want to edit your custom URL. So by default, LinkedIn gives you a very long random URL, but that doesn't really look the best when you're sharing it with others. So you want to edit your custom URL to be your last name, your first and last name, like I did here. And as your career changes, make sure your LinkedIn profile does too. Staying current on your profile will avoid confusion later on, since many employers will check an applicant's LinkedIn profile to verify their information. And I think that is about it for the presentation. I'm going to stop sharing my screen momentarily so I can see questions, unless I can see them now. Oh wait, I can. Okay. So if anybody has questions, feel free to chat something and then we can answer them. Sales Navigator? Are you saying that you are a Sales Navigator or you use it to navigate sales? Oh, yes. Sales Navigator is a part of LinkedIn. I have not used Sales Navigator yet to say whether or not it is worth it. I think from just like the basic person trying to create a LinkedIn profile to network with others, there are a lot of great features on there, but I will definitely look into Sales Navigator and let you know, Carrie, if that's okay. No problem. Oh, and hi from Stephanie Hayden Adeyamo, Dr. Stephanie Hayden Adeyamo. She is part of our library advisory board. She is listening in on Facebook. So how do you share it? Stephanie, you should be able to just hit the share button to share it with others. Okay, let me reply, just so she knows. Alrighty, so, one second. Does anybody else have any questions, whether on Facebook or on LinkedIn? Oh, okay, Stephanie asked, what are 3 goals that you would say all LinkedIn should have now? LinkedIn users? So for LinkedIn users specifically, I would say that if you have a LinkedIn profile, to create it, optimize it, and network with others. No, it's not shareable. Okay, let me see something. 1 second. So sorry guys, I'm talking to Stephanie on Facebook. You should just be able to hit the share button. I just tried it on my personal profile and I was able to. But for the 3 goals, I would definitely recommend that you want to create your profile, optimize it as you grow throughout your career. If you can author articles or create posts that create a buzz in your industry, those help a lot to get exposure. Do you recommend using the live story feature? Okay, so yes, this is something relatively new to LinkedIn. I think a lot of these social media platforms are trying to be like Instagram stories and create a live story feature. I would say it doesn't hurt, but it's kind of an odd thing because LinkedIn, typically use it just for networking and things like that. Maybe if you are at a conference or at some sort of business professional related event, then try out live stories. I don't think it hurts at all. But I think the most important things still to LinkedIn are using the post features and interacting with other people's posts. Yes, Stephanie. So yeah, you want to make sure that you're sharing photos, your latest accomplishments, just keeping what you're doing in your professional field updated. To people on the Zoom, Stephanie asked, such as a picture or latest accomplishments. So yeah, just constantly keeping yourself updated with what you do and sharing that with your network, I think helps everyone to see that you're active on LinkedIn and also in your professional field. If you want to set a personal goal for yourself too, I could say maybe aim to post at least once or twice a month, even if one of those is just sharing someone else's post. And sometimes you can find very cool industry articles just by browsing on LinkedIn. Even if you don't share them, you can keep them and learn from them and learn from others too, because that's really what LinkedIn is all about. Did anyone else have any questions? Otherwise, I want to thank everyone for coming to this first program of Career Month, I would say. Coming up next, we have quite a few things. In particular, let me pull up our program calendar so people can know. 1 second. And as a note, all these Career Month programs are virtual. So anybody can watch them. You can register for the Zoom or you can just tune in on Facebook. Either way honestly works for us. So coming up for Career Month, we have next Monday, January 11th at 11 a.m., we have Developing an Effective Resume led by FAU Career Center. So that will be pretty cool. And then on January 13th, Wednesday, January 13th, we have Conducting an Effective Job Search. On Tuesday, January 19th, we have Job Application Tips and Tricks, which is led by the City of Boynton Beach Human Resources Department. And finally, on Monday, January 25th, we have Career Prep with the Library, which will show you an overview of all the resources we have right here to help you with your career goals. If you go to the Career Month webpage, which is on the library website, you will find a page that has local employment resources and all of the registration links for these programs. So otherwise, I want to thank you all for coming, and I hope everyone has a great day. All right, bye.